Greetings, my friends. This is going to be a quick
So,
and simple
when
guide.
someone saying about broken combats, probably you should
Styrak
just
hard
stop
mode at level
watching the video
65
and
is
whatever.
very similar to Styrak hard mode at level 50, 55 and 60. Not that 60 had a special version. I'm gonna try and explain to you the small differences between story mode, hard mode and nightmare as we go on. The first pool is the trash, nothing too special about it. It's important to keep them all together for quick and efficient AoE. When, not if, but when the gold healer guy starts channeling heal, someone has to interrupt him, and that's best done by a range DPS. At this point he stops channeling and he moves on to melee range with the rest of the group. It's not a wise idea to pull more than one group at a time. It's doable to do two. I personally have never tried pulling more than two groups. Well, actually I've tried in the past. I remember a few stupid pulls at level, what is it, 50, 16 man. We couldn't beat them all with all that healing. Anyway, after the last pull it's easy stuff. We went with one tank and 5 DPS because we're still lacking a little bit of gear, and the only check in Scum Vilainy hard mode is actually this fight. Styrak doesn't rage, correct me if I'm mistaken, at 8 minutes 30 seconds. This is if you don't enter the last phase until then. If you do that, there is no enrage at this point.
I was talking about it for like.
The first real phase of the fight begins, and we've got the big dragon, Kel Dragon. We are rotating the dragon, and the tank is leading the rotation counterclockwise in our case. It doesn't really matter which side. The one thing we're doing kind of wrong here is our tank isn't sitting really in front of the column. It doesn't matter if it's hard mode or story mode, it's still the closest person taking damage, and we want this to be the tank.
For the operation.
Obviously the green stuff still hurts, not as much as in Nightmare, a lot more compared to story mode, so it's always a good idea to keep the dragon moving in the same direction. That's important. You will see, because we have no second tank, when our main tank is being shadowed by the ad needs to die quick, and in the meantime whoever has highest aggro will be tanking it. In a proper combination of two tanks, 8-man team, obviously the second tank will pick up the aggro from the boss. It is still the range DPS mostly, and melee if the location is accessible, to kill as quick as possible all the spawning ads. In hard mode we don't have the knocking back one, who is or was the biggest nightmare and the biggest issue for many teams and many group setups in nightmare mode. You don't have to kill that pushing ad, you just have to very properly align the group, so when you get pushed you don't go too far away. Because of different mechanics, you remember the claw debuff. If you don't know, well, you can watch my nightmare video. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe I do have a video guide on the level 50 version of the fight. 55, I think.
Feels like we're a bit slow.
3 minutes.
After the Gale Dragon is down, the boss drops down. The lightning in hard mode does very little damage, and there is no explosion at the end of the lightning, or at least if there is, honestly I didn't notice it. So pretty much that's it. During the lightning, this lightning, you have to just take the damage, it's unavoidable. What we used, or what I did, the guys used their raid buffs a little bit sooner, but I've decided to save inspiration for the spawn of the boss, and I actually activated it like 5-10 seconds later. There is no need to push back the 4 closing outs, because in story mode they are actually slow enough, and remember we're using 5 DPS setup, which allows us to take down the big ghost relatively quick and easy. We have assigned 4 guys to take the melee position near these 4 guys that spawn every time after the big apparition disappears. Unlike in Nightmare mode, in hard mode and in story mode, these guys are stationary, so they always spawn in the same 4 corners of the relatively set corners of the room. There has to be one person in melee. It doesn't matter which one it is. It could even be a healer or a tank. And I believe this, what you're seeing here, is a bug. There should not be 2 companions. And last week, when we actually failed it, because we had very crappy gear back then, we didn't have 2 companions, or at least when I got into a nightmare I didn't have 2 companions. Basically what you do is you kill your own companion here. It's not really your companion, it's a ghost. As soon as you get out, I don't know if it's intended or we just timed it well, the big apparition spawns. This is, just in case you're counting, the second apparition.
Mere smoke. Now taste fire. Are you ready to obey?
And to make it even more fun, I would recommend that no more than 4 apparitions are spawned, because if you get to the 5th one, it's very likely you are going to enrage the boss Styrak before the dragon appears, or before you kill the dragon, depending still on DPS. So 4 apparitions is the goal, which means heavy duty burst DPS from all DPS classes during this phase when the boss is actually down and damageable. The apparitions are really easy to kill. You don't really need to push beyond the human measurement and beyond your own strength like it was in Nightmare 55. The hard mode version of the apparition drops down fairly quickly, especially with the 5 DPS setup, so you can even allow yourself to slack just a little bit to save the big hitters for the boss after that. There is a little gap, like 5 seconds right here, after the apparition disappears and before the 4 guys spawn. It's very important to do as much damage as you can because this all counts. And you do that 4 times, remember? I'm explaining that to you from the point of view and from the perspective of a person who wept last week here because we enraged the boss on, I think, 12%. We came back, got some gear from other operations, some more 220s, some more 224s, got a 5th DPS, and obviously this is a kill video, so you know what happened. That's the damage phase, or at least I call it like this, before the 3rd apparition appears. There is really no need for a second tank in this second and last burst phase of the Styrak fight. There might be some usage as of a second tank, as you saw in the very beginning when we were fighting the Kell Dragon, but it's really manageable in hard mode. I still have no clue how it would be in level 65 Nightmare because I haven't set foot in there yet.
7 minutes. Nightmare.
Brothers and sisters, grant me power. This broke the beast. It will break you.
Snap a shield.
This is kind of the last phase before the real burn. At about, correct me if I'm mistaken, I actually wasn't watching the percentages. I believe at about 20 or 12 or 13%, the boss calls the dragon again. And from this point on, the boss is stationary. The dragon, we keep him in the middle with a gunslinger shield, very useful because the incoming damage is unavoidable and it's massive AoE to all raid members. We need to take down the beast as soon as possible. At this point, we again pop up all the raid buffs because if you do it with the same timers as we do, the raid buffs should be available again just a few seconds after the beast spawns in our case. Now you might remember that back at level 50 and 55 in all modes, people used to bring the boss under the bridge. I never understood if that's considered a bug, an exploit or something, but every single group for the last 2 years or however long it is have been doing it like this. We chose to keep the boss in the middle and it really wasn't that hard. Once you get past the check of the DPS and enrage before the burn phase, everything is relatively easy. If you want to check out the combat logs, we did have all our DPS join the star pars, including me. You can see all of my stats on my website. In case you're watching this from my website, the pictures will be down below the video. Thank you guys for watching this. I hope you will find it useful. And if you have any kinds of comments, suggestions or corrections maybe, Let me know. This is my first kill at level 65. By all means, not the first hard mode Styrak kills, but now it's level 65 and things are different. See you next time. Bye bye.
It was like 11 minutes. Here now, well, hard mode 8 minutes.